There is a red button under the video, so please subscribe. Thank you.
Waiters of Reddit, what's the worst first date you've ever seen? Served a couple a few months ago. Every time I walked over, he would always be the one talking, and she would just be sitting there not having a good time. At the end I asked if it was one bill or separate, and she immediately piped up separate. I go and take his payment, and as I hand over the debit machine to the girl, I see the guy take his phone out and start swiping through Tinder. It was one of my first dates, where the waiter definitely could sense the awkwardness. I was a junior in high school. I had been flirting with a senior for a couple months, and asked her out the day I got my license. I picked her up from her house, and within 1 minute of being in the car she got a phone call. One of her best friends died of a brain aneurysm earlier that day. I told her that we could delay the date, and offered to take her home, but she declined and insisted we carry on. We get to the restaurant, and she is crying at the table. I didn't say any words to her other than "Are you okay?" the whole date, because she was either texting her group of friends, or couldn't make out words due to being so hysterical. The waiter kept coming by, and sensed how awkward I was feeling. Out of all my restaurant experiences, I have never received my entree and check so fast. The waiter was a true bro. I was a waiter as a first job. It was an attractive young woman and an average looking man. First off, these people were 30, and I have no clue why they decided to go to Applebee's for dinner. The guy was wearing plaid sleep pants and a oversized dread zip up Columbia. The woman was dressed more nicely, but it was still casual. All goes well, until it comes time for entrees. This guy orders a ton of ribs, a few full racks, and refuses the girl her original order of a house sirloin, which was only about $6, less than a fifth of his order. The man orders a $4 salad and a water for her. The woman stops talking completely, while the man talks about some crazy party he went to. The man guzzles a few strawberry quencher iced teas, says, "See ya Friday," and leaves her with the bill. She said the guy seemed nice when they talked on Tinder, but was very uncomfortable with him in real life, and afraid to say something. A co-worker and I paid for her meal, and later she and the same co-worker starting dating, and they are engaged now. Not as interesting as everyone else's for sure, but I thought I'd share it. I'm a waitress at a mid-range priced bar/grill. Just yesterday, a younger couple came in, and as I greet them, I ask if they want anything besides water. Conversation is as follows. Girl, may I have a Coke? Or Pepsi? Boy, got Erin. I'm paying. Girl, water will be fine actually. My heart immediately sank, because you bet your he tipped less than 10% too. I was working at a Mexican restaurant at the time. I was waiting on a couple and I could tell it was a first date by the questions I heard them asking each other. Anyway, towards the end of their meal there was this Hispanic girl sweeping next to their table and the woman looks at her, holds out the remains on her plate and says, "Would you like to take this home to feed your kids?" I stood there in complete shock. This woman spoke no English, but she could tell this random woman was completely degrading her. The sad thing is she seemed like she really thought she was doing a good deed. Her date looked so embarrassed. Olive Garden, around 2014 or so, from like 7:30, close on a weeknight. Middle-aged man of sub-average attractiveness was sitting alone at a table with a glass of water, insisting that his date would be just a few minutes. There's traffic. At around 9:15, manager had to come out and let him know that the restaurant would close at 10, and if he'd like to place a food order, he should probably do it now. He ordered a bruschetta appetizer, and said again that his date was on her way, and they'd order when she got there. 9:45, this beautiful woman walks in and awkwardly stands by his table. I couldn't hear the conversation they had, but the man then asked for a box for the appetizer, and they wound up leaving together without her even sitting down. I work at a fairly nice Italian restaurant, where we do a lot of business. One night a man who I was not even serving came up to me while I was punching an order in on the computer and hands me $20 and a napkin with a phone number on it. He proceeds to tell me I'm on the worst date of my life. This woman is horrendous and I have to get out of here. Take this $20 and please go to the nearest phone and call me and tell me that I have to get home right away. I don't care what excuse you make up. I just gotta get the hell out of here. Initially I thought he was kidding until 2 minutes later the guy who was serving him came up to me to tell me how wicked this woman was and how he could tell the guy didn't wanna be there. I promptly called that guy as soon as I had a free minute. One of my shining achievements as a server. When I was in high school, my college-aged sister took me to a concert. While we were waiting for the show to start, we noticed a guy and girl in front of us who were clearly on a first date. Their conversation was so awkward that it literally devolved into talking about the weather. Brutal. Because we're terrible people, my sister and I decided to make fun of the couple by mimicking their embarrassing conversation. After a few minutes of our antics, the guy half turned his head toward us with a look of pure desperation on his face, as if to say, for the love of God, please don't make this nightmare worse than it already is. I'm begging you. We stopped. A few weeks later, my sister came home from a party and told me, remember that guy we made fun of at the concert? I just met him. We are going out on a date. They are now married with 4 children. Not a waiter, but my first date with a girl my brother's GF set me up with might count. The waiter was awesome. Brother's GF set me on a blind date with her friend who is, in her words, totally into heavy guys. So I go to pick her up, and my alarms go off. While she's not a 9/10, she is definitely what most would consider out of my league. I try to talk to her on the ride. At most I get non-committal grunts of words in response. We get to the place to eat, a steakhouse that's noted in my area for being nice, but not super expensive, and get our table. We order our food. While waiting, I try to talk to her. Simple things. She from around here? Got any hobbies? Etc. etc. She just taps on her phone and gives me small 2-word answers for the most part. Food shows up. She picks up her plate and heads to a whole other table. Tells me her friends showed up. I, apparently, was not invited. Meanwhile, she's sitting at this other table with a good bit of expensive food. I blink for a bit, then call the waiter over and explain to him what's up. I want separate checks. He agrees. I go ahead and pay for my food. She begins ordering drinks. Not just for her, but all of her friends. I just finish what I can of my food. About an hour later she comes back over and says she's ready to go. I wave the waiter down and tell him she's ready to go. He brings her a check for well over $100. She just smiles and looks at me and pushes it towards me explaining I was paying. I push it back and tell her I'm not. Get up, smile at her. I've had a lovely time tonight. I hope you have good luck in paying your tab and finding a ride home that doesn't involve a police cruiser. Brother's GF began blowing my phone up an hour later about how could I do that to her friend. I shut her down real fast. So whoever that waiter was, you're the man. Keep the $20 tip. I work at a country club that is up to its ears in old money that uses said old money to make more new money. The membership fees cost more than a year at my university. To say money is not an issue there would be an understatement. Anyways, I was serving a young couple and the power imbalance was phenomenal. She was the daughter of one of the board members and the entire staff knew her. Read, her father's club account was major money. And the gent, well, he wasn't a member and certainly looked like he was just the average broke college student. He was wearing plain but nice clothes and she was dressed to the nines in fashion. The date seemed to go smoothly enough, nothing out of the ordinary, until she gets up and leaves the table before I have brought out the bill. I bring the bill to the counter, knowing it is well over $300 worth of food and drinks, all things she insisted on ordering 2 bottles of top shelf wine, neither finished 2 steaks, when he asked for the chicken and she insisted on him eating steak like a man and he solemnly goes to pull out his wallet and starts tearing up apologizing that he won't be able to tip. I mean, I've never had a customer cry over not being able to tip. And he further explained he was a server too, and that she didn't know he wasn't rich, and she left because he had told her about his scholarship. I was flabbergasted, and kindly reminded him that at this country club we do not take credit cards nor cash, we only charge to accounts. And so her father got a hefty bill. Rest assured he signed a handsome tip to me in her name. Club policy is that the registered guests may sign for their host member. Given that the members have invited them, it was entirely satisfying. Last I heard her father cut her off. I can't help but smile at all the life lessons she is learning, like working to go on dates. I own a bakery. I see a lot of first coffee dates and people in general, but there's one that will always be the worst for me. This happened at my bakery maybe 6 months into our first year. Two boys come in, chatting normally, clearly on their first date. They're both young, maybe 15 at most, and adorably nervous. They order at the counter and go find a table, sitting close. One of them starts holding the other's hand, playing with his fingers, just being cute. All of a sudden this woman comes up and starts berating one of the boys. It was his mother. She had shown up because she wanted to meet the girl because her son was being cagey about who it was. I assume he had mentioned where they were going because she wouldn't let him out if she didn't know. She starts screaming and crying about how her son could do this to their family. Doesn't he know she wants grandkids? His father would be so ashamed if he was still alive. Doesn't his father's memory mean anything? She then tells him that if he keeps up with this, don't bother coming home, and then marches out of our shop. This poor boy is just weeping, while his not even really boyfriend is trying to comfort him, completely bewildered with what happened. Okay, so I have been a bartender and a waiter over the years, and have witnessed a couple of really sad ones, a couple crazy ones, and one that was just brutal. This one was the best of them all, I thought. Good looking dude, fit, clear shaven, kind of looked like Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel but younger, 24, had to card him, and slimmer. Sitting at the bar going on about how he had a date with this girl that his best friend was crushing on hard, that his friend just refused to ask her out because she was into him instead. He was really getting into his story when she walks in and he clams up like someone shocked him. She was by anyone's standards drop damn dead good looking and killing it in a little black dress and high heels. It was really that rip the record kind of moment. Anyway, she comes up and they do the little kissy huggy greeting and she orders a tequila shot with a lime. He does one with her and they banter about getting that out of the way and move into a little more intense banter, and out of the blue this dude whistles at me. Shocked honestly as the bar is pretty empty. He whistles at me again while I'm looking at him trying to figure out if he really just whistled at me like a king dog. Yo man, more shots. Disappointed as he really kind of seemed like a nice guy, I go to pour him a shot and let him know I'm not a dog. He does not need to whistle to get a drink. Sure man, no worries, just keep an eye out, we are gonna get lit. Yo. I retire to the sidebar real quick and one of the other guys working that night starts to talk to him while the girl goes to ladies room. When she gets back he whistles at the other bartender again and shouts, hey man, where are my shots? Pronto. This guy starts just hammering shots. Not crazy but pretty damn quickly, as though at least 5. Girl only did the one and is sitting there sipping at a wine. The dude, we will now call Yo, starts to get a bit sideways. Nothing big, just loud, laughing at his own jokes, talking over the girl every chance he gets. He then announces that he has to on a rock and walks to the back. The girl looks mortified and sad. She is texting away like a madman. Then I hear him in the back raising some cane, and out he comes with a dude under his arm. They sit down, and he starts talking to different girl at the bar. He is not really drunk, but well on his way, and says something out loud to the other girl about gay people and walks outside. His friend follows quickly after, and the girl is left at the bar alone. 5 minutes later the friend walks in, sits down, has a drink with the girl. I hear him say that he put him in a Uber and sent him home. They walk to go to the place the other dude had reservations for them at. I honestly thought, hell yeah, good for you dude. About 30 minutes later yo boy walks back in sober as the day he is born. Sits down, waves me over, and apologizes for whistling at me. Give us $20 and buys us a shift drink for when we get off. I was off at this point and sit down to have mine with him. He lets me in on his game. He did it all for his friend. Got one half drunk, played the fools, and called him to come save the day. Honestly said he is a better man for her than me. She is really just not my type. I was stuck between awe and impressed. They all came in about a month later, looked all buddy the trio of them. That whole whistled at me again, but I admit it was funny.